It's 2 a.m. You're in a blacked-out helicopter, 200 feet above Pakistan. No running lights, no radio chatter, no name on your uniform. In 60 seconds, you will hit the ground inside a compound that 10 years of intelligence, 2 wars, and 3,000 American lives all pointed toward. And no one on Earth knows you're here. But you weren't always this man. Before you became the most dangerous operator on Earth, you were nobody. A kid, 19 years old, sitting across from a recruiter who barely looked up from his desk. This is your life at every level of SEAL Team 6. 8 levels, 1 journey, and a cost that nobody warned you about. Level 1. The decision. You're 19. You walk into a Navy recruiter's office. You sit down. You say you want to be a Navy SEAL. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't encourage you either. He opens a drawer, pulls out a single sheet of paper, and slides it across the desk without a word. Start here, he says. If you can survive what's coming, we'll talk about the rest. You sign it. The unit you're ultimately trying to reach didn't exist until 1980. It was built in the wreckage of a failed hostage rescue, a mission that killed 8 Americans and never reached its target. The men in charge looked at that wreckage and decided something had to be built that had never existed before. Something elite, something classified, something that would never be officially acknowledged. They named it SEAL Team 6, deliberately, to mislead the enemy about how many teams actually existed. The name was a lie. The unit was very real. 1 in 10 men who enter the SEAL pipeline will ever earn the Trident. The operators who make it all the way to 6 represent the top fraction of that fraction. You know none of this yet. You just know you signed the paper. And in the next 24 weeks, you're going to find out exactly what that means. Level 2. Buds. It's 3 a.m. You are neck deep in the Pacific Ocean. January. The water is 55 degrees. Your body has been moving, running, swimming, carrying boats over your head for 72 consecutive hours. Total sleep, 90 minutes. The man next to you reaches out, picks up the brass bell, rings it 3 times, and walks away. Part of you understands exactly why. The rational part, the sane part. You don't move. You stay in the water, not because you're certain you'll survive, because you refuse to be the man who rings it first. The average attrition rate at Buds is 68%. Hell Week is 5.5 days of near continuous movement, with 4 total hours of sleep across the entire window. Not 4 hours a night, 4 hours total. The bell is always within arm's reach. That's not accidental. That's the whole point. You survive Hell Week. You survive all 24 weeks. Most of the men who started beside you are already gone. They press the Trident into your palm, a small gold pin. It's heavier than it looks. You'll understand why much later. You are a Navy SEAL now, and you are the most inexperienced person in every room you're about to walk into. Level 3. The teams. You're stationed at SEAL Team 3, Coronado, California. Your teammates have been downranged 3 times, some of them 4. They look at you the way combat veterans always look at new arrivals. Not with contempt, with a quiet, tired patience. The patience of men who've watched untested men find out who they really are when the shooting starts, and who don't yet know which kind of man you are. You are trained harder than almost anyone alive. You are completely untested. Every man in that room already knows it. The next several years are the work. Training cycles, deployments. You go downrange twice, then a 3rd time. You lose someone on your 2nd deployment, a man you trained with, trusted, would have died for. You come home quieter than you left. Your wife notices. She doesn't ask. She's learned not to. In those years, something happens that nobody announces. The men who will eventually reach the next level begin separating themselves from the ones who won't. Not loudly, not with any kind of declaration, just in the way they move, in the calls they make when everything goes wrong, in the things they stop needing other people to explain. You start looking past the Trident, past the teams, towards something darker, something quieter, something that most men in this building will never be invited to touch. Level 4. The invitation. 3 deployments. You've stopped calling it action. You've buried teammates. You've come back changed each time. A different version of yourself walking through the door that replaced the one who left. Then one morning, someone slides a form across a desk. Not orders, a form, a request. One sheet of paper that says, essentially, I believe I am ready. You submit it, and then you wait, knowing that a single signature anywhere in your chain of command can end this before it starts. You live with that for weeks. When it finally moves forward, they bring you in front of a board. 5 senior operators, sitting in a room across from you. Between them, they have run operations in more countries than you visited on leave. They have your training records, your deployment evaluations, your financial history, your psychological profile, your marriage, all of it. They ask about your tactics, your judgment under fire, your money, your family, things you assumed were private. Nothing is private in this room. You answer every question with complete honesty. There is nowhere to hide, nothing to embellish. Either you are exactly what they need, or you are not. Half of all applicants are turned back before training ever begins, not for lack of skill, for lacking something harder to measure, something these men have learned to see in the pauses between answers. The board doesn't ask if you're ready, it asks if you're the right kind of man. And you won't know their answer until the envelope arrives. Level 5. Green Team. You thought buds broke you. You were wrong. Green Team runs approximately 8 months. Attrition, around 50%. In one selection cycle, 20 men started. 12 finished. The ones who didn't finish weren't slow. They weren't soft. They simply weren't what this unit requires. Phase 1 is the kill house. You enter a pitch-black room, night vision on. There are paper targets on the walls, non-threatening. There are also human silhouettes. Some are threats, some are hostages. The instructor doesn't tell you which is which. The rounds in your weapon are live. You have half a second. Every decision you make is observed by instructors you cannot see, from positions you cannot identify. Every hesitation is logged in a notebook you will never read. The men watching you have made these exact decisions in real compounds, in real darkness, with real lives in the balance. They do not grade on a curve. Phase 2 is advanced skydiving. Halo and HAHO insertions at altitudes requiring supplemental oxygen. The earth below you is invisible. Phase 3 is SERE. Learning what happens to your mind when every comfort, every certainty, every familiar thing has been stripped away. After 6 weeks in the kill house, Buds feels like an orientation week. Green Team doesn't build you. It finds out what you actually are when everything else has been removed. And what it finds is the only thing that decides whether you move forward. Level 6. The Squadron. You're assigned to Gold Squadron, the Crusaders. You walk into the room. The men inside have executed operations that will never appear in any newspaper. They look up. They nod. Not with enthusiasm. Not with ceremony. With recognition. You are one of them now. No announcement. No handshake. No speech. Just a desk, a classified briefing folder, and the quiet understanding that you have walked through a door that only swings one way. DevGru runs 4 assault squadrons. Red, the Tribe. Blue, the Pirates. Gold, the Crusaders. Silver, each with approximately 50 operators. Each troop commanded by a lieutenant commander, advised by a master chief who has forgotten more about this world than most soldiers will ever learn. Operationally, the unit answers to JSOC, the same tier as Delta Force, the same deliberate blank space on the organizational chart where a unit name should be. You cannot tell your wife which squadron you're in. You cannot explain what you actually do. You can tell her when you're leaving. That is all. She's learned to read the silences. You complete your first DevGru deployment. You cannot say where. You cannot say what happened. You come home and sit in a chair in your kitchen, and you understand, fully and permanently, what you traded to be in that room. The door only swings one way. And somewhere in the world right now, a target folder with your name on it is already being prepared. Level 7. The Mission. What follows is a fictional point of view dramatization based entirely on publicly known, widely reported, and declassified information. Educational narrative only. May 2nd, 2011, 2 in the morning. The helicopter is completely blacked out, no running lights. 2 MH-60 Blackhawks, 23 operators, 1 interpreter, 1 Belgian Malinois named Cairo, piloted by night stalkers, men who fly in darkness the way other pilots fly in daylight. You can feel the rotors through the deck plating beneath your boots. You cannot see the ground coming up below you. Everything you're about to do was rehearsed on a full-scale replica of this compound. Every door, every corridor, every angle. You've run this operation until it stopped feeling like a drill. Then you hit. Hard. Harder than any rehearsal. The tail clips the compound wall. Hard landing inside the perimeter. Someone calls it, you are already moving. The next 38 minutes happen the way your body moves when your conscious mind has stopped trying to keep pace. Muscle memory. Thousands of hours of repetition. The compound clears floor by floor, room by room, level by level. And then, silence. You are standing in a courtyard in Pakistan. The mission that 10 years of war, 10 years of intelligence, and 3,000 American lives all pointed toward is complete. Tomorrow, your country will celebrate. The president will address the nation. People will pour into the streets. Your name will never be spoken. You don't feel triumphant. You don't feel relief. You feel something hollow, something without a name in any language you know. You just did what 300 million Americans wanted done for an entire decade, and not one of them will ever know you existed. Level 8. The Cost. You're home. The backyard looks exactly the same as the day you left. Your kids are running in the same grass. The kitchen smells the same. Your coffee mug is on the same shelf. Everything is exactly the same. Except you. You sit at the kitchen table. Your family moves around you. Warm, ordinary, impossibly unfamiliar. Your youngest sits down across from you and asks what you did this week. You say something about training. He nods, goes back to his game. You watch him for a long moment. He has your eyes. He doesn't know you. Not the version of you that exists in those folders. Not the man who has stood in rooms that carry no address. Made decisions that have no equivalent in any civilian vocabulary. Former Tier 1 operators describe what happens when the missions stop. PTSD disproportionately common. Traumatic brain injury from years of accumulated blast exposure. Relationships fractured beyond repair. Some call it identity fracture, the condition of being a precision instrument returned to a world that no longer has a use for what you've become. VA clinicians acknowledge the standard models don't apply. You cannot tell a therapist enough to be helped without risking what you swore to protect. You did everything right. Every order followed, every call made correctly, every mission executed with precision. You were exactly what your country needed at exactly the right moment, and it cost you everything anyway. That's the truth no recruiter slid across a desk. No instructor whispered during Hell Week. No officer put in the Gold Squadron briefing folder. The summit was real. The view from up here is just lonelier than anyone told you it would be. You don't leave this unit the same way you entered it. No one does. The man who walked into that recruiter's office at 19, he's still somewhere inside you, but he's been rebuilt so many times, from so many different materials, piece by piece, level by level, mission by mission, until what remains is something harder and quieter and more capable of complete stillness than that kid could have ever imagined becoming. You don't regret it. That's the strange truth nobody tells you, even with everything it cost. You don't regret a single level, because you became something that almost no human being on Earth has ever become. And that, even in the silence, means something that no civilian word is quite large enough to hold. Tomorrow morning, in a city you've never been to, a 19-year-old kid will walk into a recruiter's office, sit down across from a man who barely looks up from his desk, say he wants to be a SEAL. The recruiter won't laugh. He'll open a drawer, pull out a single sheet of paper, slide it across the desk. "Start here," he'll say. The kid will sign it, with absolutely no idea what he just agreed to. And the cycle, the classified, brutal, irreversible cycle, begins again.